Tonight's edition of In Pit Lane is brought to you with the support of the Spring Nationals, featuring the USA versus Australia Jet Funny Cars. This Saturday, October 14, Adelaide International Raceway. Yes, hello everybody, welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. It is the edition after the Bathurst 1000. More about that in just a moment. But look, the big events just don't stop, because coming up this weekend here in Melbourne is one of the most popular events, an event that we've been sort of part of watching for its whole history, and it has just taken off to become not just one of Melbourne's big events or Australia's big events, but has now become an event of world standing, and that is Motorclassica, happening this weekend at the Royal Exhibition buildings in Carlton here in Melbourne. And joining us a little bit later on in the program, Paul Maces from Motorclassica, to tell us what's happening this year, about some of the amazing cars that are going to be there, and also some of the people you'll be able to meet if you head out there this weekend. Also, speaking of big events for our viewers in Adelaide, Championship drag racing is back in Adelaide with the Spring Nationals at Adelaide International Raceway this Saturday. Not only have we've got some the Spring Nationals, and yes, let's announce it, because we've got some big news coming up about the Spring Nationals, including a big competition, so stay tuned for that. Also, a little bit later on in the program, Penny Bowen will be joining us. She's a great local Melbourne singer, and she's got a song for us to take us out. Look, we're not live at the moment, at least I don't think we're live on YouTube. We've got a few technical problems, a few technical gremlins, which have meant that we can't go live. So everything's a bit. I'm hearing from our floor manager that apparently we are now live. So hope you're watching, and thanks to all of the crew who've obviously been working behind the scenes and tearing their hair out to make sure that we have gone live on In Pit Lane YouTube channel. So let's seeing we're live, we might as well show you some news. So let's check out the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. He's been a colourful and popular part of the Victorian state racing scene for over 20 years. But it's the end of an era as the old snake charmer, gorgeous George Vidovic, prepares to move on to new horizons. George made his big announcement at the launch of his new book, Pride, Passion and Persistence, a look back at the history of Python sports cars.
It's been a book that I've had in my mind for probably over 20 or 30 years. I had a chance to put it all together about 3 years ago with the help of our media team, and it's called Pride, Passion and Persistence, One Man's Automotive Dream. So basically chronicles my life from 1979 to 2017, and it's all about Python Vehicles Australia and my journey in what I created from a backyard in East Brighton to what it is today in 2017 here in South Melbourne. And to say that, we are moving on though.
Moving on means that we won't be seeing George and his bright orange Python around local tracks anymore. But the mark will live on, and he's certainly not leaving the sport he loves.
I'm excited to say that Python Vehicles has been passed on to a new owner, David Murphy at TRJ Engineering. What I'm personally going to do is basically become a racing car driver for 2 years. We're going to race in the VARA series, which is the Vintage Automobile Racing Association. My car will be classed as a GTO open car there, so it's exciting that they've accepted the car. We're then going to race in the NASA Pro Series. The NASA Pro Series is going to be a little bit more intense and a lot more refined in the respect that our car will be classed as an ST1 car. It's an unlimited class. We'll be racing against LMP1 cars, Trans Am Mustangs and cars of that calibre. So it's going to be very similar to what we're racing in Mark Sport, so it'll be certainly challenging. But the exciting point that I can make here is at least I'll have an opportunity to race at places like Laguna Seca, Lime Rock, Willow Springs, Button Willow, Coronado, Simona, Watkins Glen, and also one of my favourite tracks is COTA, which is the Circuit of the Americas. So that's where we're heading. We're heading to the United States to race against the Yanks.
Things may not have gone well for Nissan at Bathurst, but the marque did have some endurance success with a win in the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. The Patron Tequila sponsored Nissan DPI of Ryan DL, Scott Sharp and Kiwi driver Brendan Hartley won the race by just over 7 seconds ahead of the big 6.2 litre V8 Cadillac of Cameron, Curran and Conway after 10 hours of close racing. Team Penske, who returned to sports car racing as a warm-up for their new Honda effort next year, stunned everybody by taking pole. However, the all-star team of Elio Castro Neves, Juan Montoya and Simon Pagenaud had to eventually settle for third place in their Orica LMP2. In GTLM, it was a win for the BMW team of Alexander Sims, Kuno Whitmer and veteran driver Bill Oberlin in his 400th IMSA start that took their third win of the season. A big win for Lexus in the Thailand round of Super GT, with the LC500 of Rio Hirakawa and New Zealand driver Nick Cassidy coming from pole position to win the race. It was a Lexus 1-2, with the LC500 of Kazuya Oshima and Andrea Caldarelli in second place. The Calsonic Nissan GTR of Hironobu Yasuda and Jan Mardenborough suffered engine trouble with just 2 laps remaining while sitting in third. This moved the Honda NSX of Kudo Sakakoshi and Takashi Kaguri into a popular third place. The success continued for Lexus in GT300, with the GT3 version of the car taking the win. Meanwhile in Japan, another all-the-way victory to Lewis Hamilton and a DNF from his main rival Sebastian Vettel has put the Mercedes driver in the box seat for his 4th World Championship. Hamilton faced pressure late in the race from Red Bull driver Max Verstappen, but he held on for the win, with Australia's Dan Ricciardo in third. It was another disappointing weekend for Ferrari, with Vettel retiring early with engine problems and Kimi Raikkonen off the pace all weekend. An emotional win to Martin Truex Jr. in the latest round of the NASCAR Playoff Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Truex won after 2 late race cautions forced the race into overtime. He dedicated the victory to his partner, who's battling ovarian cancer and couldn't attend the race. Chase Elliott finished second for the 2nd consecutive week, while Kevin Harvick was third. Hot and humid conditions meant it was a tough race for all the drivers, with Kyle Busch, winner of the last 2 races, suffering more than most. Busch wrecked early in the race, yet completed it in a badly damaged car. He needed immediate medical attention when finishing the race, suffering from dehydration and carbon dioxide poisoning. He's expected to recover in time for the next round. And plenty of spectacular action in the Rally of Spain, the latest round of the World Rally Championship. M Sport had a small chance to seal the manufacturer's title here, and Ott Tanak clearly had this on his mind, driving a safe and steady third day to take third spot and move into second in the championship. Sebastian Ogier also drove a measured rally. Fast on the tarmac in gravel spec on Friday, he struggled to find the perfect setup in tarmac spec and could only muster second place. Citroën had already targeted this rally as one to win, and it paid off. Chris Meek was brilliant all weekend, winning 8 stages in all, both on gravel and tarmac. Want to know more about In Pit Lane? Well, you can support us via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/InPitLane. Remember to subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Check out the In Pit Lane website for lots of live streaming and all the latest news. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, email us at theshow@inpitlane.com, and to find out more about effective and affordable advertising for your company or products, email us at advertise@inpitlane.com. In Pit Lane, 21 years, and they haven't killed us yet. Yes, you're watching In Pit Lane, hopefully live on YouTube. If it's not live, I hope it's fairly soon live, because if you're watching us from Adelaide, we've got some great news for you, which we're going to tell you about in just a moment. I'll mention Bathurst just briefly. We didn't have it in the news because, I mean, you know who won Bathurst. And it's hard to reconcile the fact that you're talking about a team of battlers when it's run by one of the richest women in Australia. But that's sort of the vibe that, Erebus do sort of, have managed to sort of send out there. And as I said, just after the race happened on Facebook, sometimes the good guys do win. So congratulations to Dave Reynolds and particularly Luke Youlden. Luke has been a very, very solid performer as a co-driver and a driver over the years. So congratulations to those 2 guys, and also to Betty Clemenko as well. Betty, congratulations, really well deserved. And now Betty has actually won 2 Bathurst. She's won the Great Race, and of course a couple of years ago won the Greater Race, the Bathurst 12 Hours. So congratulations to Erebus. Now, if you're in Adelaide, if you're a drag racing fan, in fact, if you're a drag racing fan anywhere, we got some good news for you. And I'm going to read this because this is worth reading. I've got to get this 100% right. The good news is that for Australian drag racing fans is the news that Saturday's Spring Nationals from Adelaide International Raceway will be streamed live around Australia and around the world. Australian Drag Racing Promotions and Calder Park Drag Racing have come together with the team from here at In Pit Lane to bring you live streaming of major events at both Calder and Adelaide for the upcoming drag racing season. Now, the coverage starts this Saturday afternoon, and you can watch all the action live on Facebook via inpitlane.com as well, also via the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, and there'll be a lot of other places that it will be made available as well. So if you're a drag racing fan, tune in this Saturday, not sure, probably about 1 o'clock, something like that. We're hoping to get the last round of qualifying in and then all the action from the eliminations right through, including the Aussie versus USA Jet Car Challenge, which is coming up there. Now, if you are in Adelaide to celebrate this big event, we've got some good news for you. Here we go. Adelaide Drag Racing Promotions have offered lucky In Pit Lane viewers some special chances to see the action live this weekend. We have two VIP start line prizes to give away. Now, to enter, go to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, which is probably where you're watching right now, and make sure you like and subscribe and leave a message just asking us nicely, very nicely, if we would perhaps give you some tickets. And the people who ask nicely without crawling will get those tickets for this weekend, for this Saturday at Adelaide International Raceway. And in case you're wondering, well, what will I see when I go out there? Well, take a look at this.
Drag Racing. The 30th Annual Spring Nationals are back at Adelaide International Raceway. Don't miss the tyre-smoking, wheel-standing supercharged warriors going head-to-head. Plus the USA versus Oz Jet Challenge. These machines will blow you away, along with over 200 other cars and bikes battling to be number one. One day only, Saturday, October the 14th. Bring the family, kids under 14 free. For full details, visit AdelaideDragRacePromotions.com.au. Bring your earplugs.
Yes, and of course, if you can't get out there, be watching the action live via the live stream next week. And In Pit Lane would, of course, like to thank Adelaide Drag Racing Promotions, Calder Park Drag Racing, for their support of In Pit Lane. Well, coming up here in Melbourne this coming week is one of the biggest events of its kind, not just in Australia, but as I said at the opening of the show, it's become one of the biggest events of its kind in the world. It's Motorclassica. We went to the first one and we were just blown away at how successful it was at the first attempt. I think that our guest tonight was also equally blown away by it, and since then he's been on an extraordinary roll as it just gets bigger, bigger and bigger. What have we got in mind for this weekend, or what have we got in line? Well, let's find out. Paul Mathers, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Brett, thank you for having me again.
Now, this is, what year is this? How many years is this?
This is number 8.
Number 8?
Now, yeah, I know some people get less for murder, but it's true. 8 years.
Well, as I said, I remember, and I've told this story many times, there was that particular moment, I think it was on the Saturday afternoon when we interviewed you, and I'll never forget it, we were up on top of the mezzanine looking down, I think it was a Saturday afternoon, and the look on your face as we looked down and saw that massive sea of humanity underneath amongst all those cars, and I think it was at that point you suddenly realised, oh my God, we're onto something, this is going to be the success that we'd always hoped it was going to be.
Yeah, it was, I think I might have had a tear in my eye when you interviewed me then, Brett,
yes,
from memory. It was a pretty emotional time. Yeah, look, it's interesting, you know, when I look back at that very first year, I realise, wow, we were so naive, and we were a fraction of what the event has become now, really, in terms of all the different elements that come together to create Motorclassica. And it has grown, not just in terms of numbers of cars, but in terms of what people experience. I think that, you know, when we did it in the first year, it was a collection of really fabulous cars. What it's become is a really wonderful day out for people who love motoring, and not just motoring, but probably people that love art and design and just beautiful things, beautiful expensive things, let's face it. Because you can come for a whole day out and you can spend 6 or 7 hours there and still feel like you need to come back the next day. And that's what I really love about it. You know, people get to engage with these cars and with the people behind the cars, and so many stories get shared on the weekend of Motorclassica, and that's one of the things that I really love about it, and signals, you know, how far it's really come.
You mentioned the people there, and I think that's something that you know, a lot of people out there probably aren't aware of, but we've certainly been aware. I mean, over the years, we've spoken to people like, you know, Sterling Moss, Derek Bell, all of those people. A homegrown sort of, and a very appropriate, I think, homegrown approach this time, because we're about to sadly see the end of Holden. They actually started, I think it was today, they started construction on the last Commodore to come off the production line, and we've got a special tribute to Holden's history on Australia's racetracks.
Yeah, well, we do, and well, some people will know that Holden started longer than 100 years ago as a saddlery, and 100 years ago they built their first car body for an imported chassis, and they built for many years car bodies for Pontiacs and Oldsmobiles and Chevrolets and so on. And so what we've decided to do, and what we decided to do really before we knew what the closing date of the Elizabeth factory was we decided to do this big celebration of 100 years of Holden building cars. Not just Holden cars, but building cars. And that being a really great Australian story. And as it happens, you know, the manufacturing finishes, that Elizabeth factory closes not even a week after we close the doors on Motorclassica. So it is quite a bittersweet alpha and omega, you know, the beginning and the end of Holden. So we've got some fantastic cars there telling that story, including a range of race cars and concept cars as well. But we thought, let's bring the human element back into it as well. So we've kind of dug the mine there, and we've unearthed some of the great Holden dealer team drivers of the early years. So, of course, you know, probably the most prolific of those is Colin Bond. And obviously Peter Brock, who's no longer with us. But so we've got Colin Bond joining us, and Jim Richards. We've got Peter Jansen, who wasn't an HDT driver, but certainly drove a lot of Holdens.
Certainly a famous Holden driver,
and quite
or infamous perhaps.
Absolutely, and quite a good storyteller as well. We also have John Harvey and Alan Moffat, who a lot of people don't know. Yeah. He actually drove a Holden as well, with some success later in his career. So yeah, we've brought those fellas back, and they're going to be on our stage telling some stories about those great years. And of course, you know, not only is it that anniversary of Holden, but for Moffat and Bond, well, it's also the 40th anniversary of their famous 1-2 at Bathurst. So lots going on there as far as the people go, and this will be the first time Motorclassica has really taken the time out to pay tribute to Australian motoring, you know, a great Australian brand, some great Australian automotive history and racing history, and it just seems only fitting that this is the right year for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are now starting to, probably because of the manufacturing closing in this country, I think a lot of the collectors are now looking at these things with a different view now from the way they were looking at it a few years ago. I mean, the muscle cars have always been collectible, but now people are looking at what we would have thought years ago would just almost throw. Things like even the AU Falcon is, you know, people are interested in that now, and that's bizarre.
Well, let me tell you, I had an EH Holden, a beautiful EH Holden station wagon that nowadays would be classed as a preservation car because it had never been restored. And I sold that, and I shouldn't have sold it, about maybe 15 years ago for $2.5 grand. Now, to get something like that, now you're looking at 40 or 50 grand, and that's a Holden. That's a good old honest EH. And yes, I think that, you know, these are the cars that my generation grew up with as kids, you know, and they mean something to us. They spark that little bit of passion and nostalgia that we have inside us, that we remember that childhood, and we want to revisit that. And why not, you know? It's actually an affordable part of the collector car market. You don't have to be collecting Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and Ferraris. You can legitimately collect and you know, make money maybe out of Australian cars too.
You did mention one mark there in Ferrari, of course, a significant year for them as well, and that's being very much celebrated as well. In fact, the celebrations have already started. I think they were down perhaps at Phillip Island today.
Yes.
This is going to be an extraordinary collection of Ferraris that we're going to see, not just in the building, but in the outside areas everywhere. You're not going to be able, you'll be tripping over the bloody things.
Oh, look, Ferrari don't need me to promote them, but let me tell you, we are very excited about this partnership with Ferrari. We have been chosen at Motorclassica to be the official Australian celebration of their 70th anniversary of making road cars. So yes, we've brought together, we've curated from all around Australia a really sensational collection of historic cars that start with the 195 EL, which is the oldest Ferrari in Australia right now. The 195 EL, a beautiful little car, one of only 2 bodies built by Gear Eigel, and it was also the car that featured at the Geneva Motor Show in its year, right through to the new LaFerrari Aperta, which is all over the media at the moment. As you say, it was driven yesterday in the Ferrari Club Rally, and it was driven today as well down at Phillip Island. And so lots going on with the LaFerrari.
Yeah, I think Tim Schenken had a
He
steer.
did, yeah, that's exactly right. What's really cool about that though, Brett, is this will be the first time that the LaFerrari Aperta has appeared in Australia alongside the full lineage of Ferrari supercars. So beginning with the 288 GTO, we have that, then the F40, then the F50, then the Enzo, then the LaFerrari Aperta. So the supercars, all the anniversary cars, all together at once. Now, for Ferrarista, that's a pretty cool thing to see. I did a quick back of the envelope sort of calculation the other day, and I think our Ferrari collection of 22 cars is valued at approximately $43 million.
But who's counting?
Of who's counting, yeah.
Now, apart from those things, just quickly before we go, any other cars that are highlights that you'd like to let people know about?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I like to leave a bit to the imagination, you know. We don't want to give everything out up front. And that's the reason why people come to Motorclassica each year, to see what we've unearthed.
Yeah, you always find it. They're also a surprise when you're going, I wasn't expecting to see that.
Absolutely. But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to seeing this year is our tribute to Lancia. Now, Lancia are a mark that, has probably got a pretty low profile now, but you don't have to think back very far before they were a dominating force in world rallying. And all car fans know that of all the marks, Lancia has probably throughout its 110-year history been amongst the most innovative of all. And we have an incredible lineage of Lancia cars there, from, Lambdas at the very beginning of their history through some very, very rare cars. These are cars that most Australians would never have seen before. I'm talking cars that are 1 of 2 ever made or 1 of 3 ever made. And I won't go into details because these are cars that have to be seen. I could talk all night about them, Brett, but they're just, until you see them, they're really something very special. And I think, personally, to see that collection of cars, I'm really, really looking forward to.
And just quickly, we've got another auction again?
Yes, another auction, and the big ticket item there is something for everyone's dream car garage. We're auctioning a genuine Jaguar D-Type.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not a Le Mans winner, of course, but it was driven by a Le Mans winner, Duncan Hamilton. And that car is up for auction along with 30 other cars on Saturday night.
Any idea of what sort of price range they're looking at for that? Because the last one that was sold went for some extraordinary amount of money.
Well, the last one that sold was for $20.4 million US, I think. That was an Acuria Cossi Le Mans winning car. This isn't a Le Mans winner, so obviously there's a bit of difference. They're estimating $7 to $8 million for this particular car. And if I sort of draw some comparison with similar rated cars in overseas auctions, I know one sold at Retromobile maybe 3 years ago for €5.2 million. And that's about the same.
Yeah.
And I got to say, there's no import tax here. There's no luxury car tax. This is a D-Type that's in Australia. So it makes it, I think, probably pretty reasonable buying.
Well, I mean, one thing we can hope is that perhaps it stays in Australia and we get the chance to see it and enjoy it. Just let people know, Motorclassica, when does it start? When can people walk through those doors?
Motorclassica this weekend, Friday to Sunday. www.motorclassica.com.au is the website. Tickets are available online or at the door. We open Monday Friday at 9 a.m. But if you want to see some of the cars on the road as they were intended without paying any money, get a sneak preview. You can catch them at Tour Classica, which starts from Alexandra Gardens on the south bank of the Yarra at about 10:15 on Thursday morning. And I think we've got about half the cars that are appearing in the show are going to do the drive from Alexandra Gardens to the Royal Exhibition Building, led by the Holden effigy, which will be only the second time that car's been on a public road. So that'll be really cool too.
Yes, well, I think I was unaware that it could turn a wheel, so that's fantastic.
It drives, but Brett, we've got to hope that it doesn't rain because it doesn't have windscreen wipers.
It's Melbourne. What chance is there of rain in Melbourne at this
We'll
stage?
see.
Paul, good luck with it. It has been an extraordinary success. And we'll obviously, hopefully have you back next year to talk about another chapter in the history of Motorclassica. But congratulations to you and all the team out there. It has been not just a motoring event, and not just, as you say, it's become another one of the jewels in the crown of Melbourne's major events, because people do come from all over the world now for this. It's a big event. Paul, once again, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you too, Brett.
And thank you to you at home for joining us. Now, next week on the program, all sorts of things that as will amaze you. We've got actually something coming up, going to arrange, not sure it's next week or the week after, but something which will, no doubt cause a bit of controversy and have people upset at me again, but then we're no stranger to that here. So that's coming up either next week or the week after on In Pit Lane. Now, coming up right now is our music for tonight, and that is Penny Bowen. And Penny, if you'd like to see Penny's coming up and playing around Melbourne, if we can get those graphics up. Somewhere, graphics are coming up now. There she is, tomorrow night. She's at the Brothers Public House in Fitzroy at 8 p.m. It's free entry. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow night and you're in Melbourne, come on down and see Penny at the Brothers Public House. Also, October 29th, it won't just disappear quickly, but October 29th, she and her band will be at the Brunswick Hotel. So, but right now, she is here and with her band, and to take us out tonight is Penny Bowen and Howling. So until we see you next week on In Pit Lane, from all of us here, it's good night, and here's Penny Bowen and Howling. Good night.
Will you come out tonight when the moon is but a sliver? Will you come play with me down by the river? It's all so quiet here underneath the mud. Slide down deeper till it fits you like a glove. Can you hear it calling out your name? Can you hear it? You won't ever be the same. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape me, I'm gonna love you long. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape me, I'm gonna love you long. Slide down the riverbank, let me bind your feet. Keep your eyes open now, the water will taste so sweet. All that's left to see will be the crown upon your head. Slide down, 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 deeper down, down to the riverbed. Can you hear it calling out your name? Can you hear it? You won't ever be the same. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape me, I'm gonna love you long. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape me, I'm gonna love you long. played your body like a song, emptied you out from your head right down to your bone. You'll never notice, but you won't see me again. Just hear me whisper to you at the end. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape me, I'm gonna love you long. My love will be howling, my love will be strong. Don't try and escape